As football fans, we are privileged enough to watch a lot of European games, right? We have the Champions League on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and we have the Europa League that most of us don't even watch in the earlier stages on Thursdays. So with these two European competitions, we have enough to watch, we can't complain, and the system is good as it stands, right? Well, UEFA clearly disagree, and that is why they introduced the UEFA Europa Conference League, mostly referred to as UEFA Conference League. When UEFA officially announced that the Conference League was coming back in 2019, nobody really seemed to care about it. But as the tournament will soon become actual reality in the next season, 2021-2022, more and more people are starting to wonder what this thing is actually about. And this is quite understandable. I've made a poll on Instagram asking you if you know what the UEFA Conference League is, and a big majority of you answered no. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining to you what the UEFA Conference League actually is about, how exactly it's going to change European football, and also give you my opinion on if it is a good or a bad idea. Let's go. So basically the UEFA Conference League is the third tier UEFA competition below the Champions League and the Europa League. There will be 32 teams competing in 8 groups in the group stages of the competition, just like we're seeing it in the UEFA Champions League right now. And the majority of these 32 teams will actually be clubs from lower ranked UEFA nations. So that is quite a huge difference to the Champions League, where 50% of the group stage teams are actually from the top 4 leagues. So let's have a quick overview. The Champions League has 32 teams, the Europa League with its 12 groups has 48 teams, and the UEFA Conference League will come in with another 32 teams. So are you telling me we're gonna have 112 teams competing in European competitions per year? Whoa, isn't that too much? It probably would be, but it's not gonna happen, because the number of teams in the Europa League will be decreased from 48 to only 32 teams, meaning it will have only 8 groups instead of 12, and all 3 European competitions will have this system with 8 groups and 32 teams each, so we will have 96 teams competing in European competitions per year, which is still a lot, but the focus lays on this evolution in the Europa League, because it changes quite a lot in European football. But let's start right from the beginning. The Champions League as we know it and as we love it will more or less stay the same. The 8 group winners and the 8 runners-up will still go to the round of 16 of the Champions League. It's always been like that and it will stay like that, don't worry. But then what happens to the 8 third place teams of the Champions League group stages? You know that in the past these 8 have always been going right to the Europa League round of 32. But now if the Europa League only has 32 teams, can there be a round of 32? Of course not, and that is where the first big change comes into place. The 8 third place teams of the Champions League, instead of going to the round of 32 of the Europa League, which was scrapped, it doesn't exist anymore, they will be going to the Europa League knockout playoffs. This is a new round similar to the old round of 32, but a bit different. I'm gonna explain that later on, but let's move on to the Europa League. So the 8 group winners of the Europa League group stages will now go directly to the Europa League round of 16, instead of having to go through the round of 32, which, as you already know, doesn't exist anymore. And this is where it becomes special. The 8 runners-up of the Europa League group stages won't follow the 8 winners of the group stages to the round of 16 directly, but they will also have to go through the Europa League knockout playoffs. Do you still remember who else is in the Europa League knockout playoffs? Yep, exactly. The 8 third place Champions League group stage teams will face the 8 runners-up of the Europa League group stages in the Europa League knockout playoffs. So each UCL third place team will face a Europa League second place team, and the 8 winners of these 8 fixtures will then go on to face the 8 group winners of the Europa League group stages in the Europa League round of 16. Okay, first let that sink in for a second. Are you ready? Okay, then you can probably already imagine what happens to the third place teams of the Europa League group stages. In the old system we have right now, what happened to them was basically nothing. These teams were just knocked out from Europe completely. But now in the new system, they actually have another chance. Some of you might already imagine what will happen to them. Bingo, this is where the new competition comes in. They will go to the UEFA Conference League knockout playoffs. This is basically the same thing as the Europa League knockout playoffs, just on a level below that. And so the system in the whole UEFA Conference League is the same as in the Europa League. The 8 group winners go directly to the competition's round of 16, but the 8 runners-up of the UEFA Conference League will have to play the knockout playoffs. And there they will also have to face the 8 third-placed Europa League teams for a spot in the UEFA Conference League round of 16. So yeah, that was a lot of info, I guess you'll have to let that sink in first. Basically, the Europa League being decreased to 32 teams and those new knockout playoff rounds are the only significant changes, but once you've got it, it's pretty simple actually. And now you might already be asking yourself, what is gonna happen to the 8 third place teams of the UEFA Conference League groups? Well, these 8 teams will then go on to do absolutely nothing. They are just being knocked out. Luckily, it would have been way too complicated. Okay, now that you know what the new system in European football is, let's talk about what teams will actually play in the UEFA Conference League. First of all, we've got those teams who win their domestic cups. This mostly applies to lower and medium ranked nations in the UEFA ranking. Then we've also got those teams who place 2nd to 4th in their domestic leagues. For lower ranked nations that will be 2nd or 3rd, and for the average nations that will be 3rd or 4th. And then for the higher ranked leagues, 1 or 2 teams between 5th and 7th will qualify for the Conference League. For the top 4 leagues, that is mostly going to be the team that places 6th or 7th, depending on who wins the domestic cup. But now what adds some extra spice to the competition, some teams that are eliminated from the Europa League qualifiers will go on to play the Conference League qualifiers. And even some losers from the Champions League qualifiers will get another chance in the Conference League qualifiers. So we might actually see some league champions competing in the UEFA Conference League. To give you a better picture of what teams we could potentially be seeing in the Conference League next season, here are some examples. We will have an interesting mixture of clubs from all of Europe. For example, we could see Bohemian FC from the very low-ranked Irish League, next to Panathinaikos from the Greek League or FC Sion from the Swiss League. These two are average leagues in the UEFA ranking. And it's also important to note that none of these three are currently the best teams in their respective league and country. But on the other hand, we are also going to see very strong teams from the top 4 leagues competing in the Conference League. Totally realistic examples for next season include Real Sociedad from La Liga, Arsenal from the Premier League or Lazio from Serie A. So just by these 6 contenders, you can already see what a great diversity of clubs from all over Europe we're gonna have in the Conference League. The variety will be even much higher than in the Europa League. And already there we see some teams that many of us have never heard of. So is that a good thing or a bad thing for European football? Let's get to my opinion. I have to admit that when the news first came out of UEFA releasing a new competition called the Conference League, I was really skeptical. I thought most of us don't even watch many Europa League group stage games, so who would want to watch a UEFA Conference League that is even level below that and only has bang average teams? And this is still one point I am worried about. The group stage might get a bit boring. But other than that, I have to say that I changed my mind for this competition, and here is why. First of all, I think it is a great opportunity for smaller teams that are currently struggling to qualify for the Europa League to finally get some recognition within Europe. And of course, it's also financially beneficial, and it could actually save some historical traditional teams from bankruptcy. And the next point is strongly connected to this. As the competition will be focused on teams from lower ranked or average ranked nations in the UEFA ranking, those leagues can also get more credit, they also get more awareness from the other countries in Europe, from the big countries. If one of their teams pulls off a surprise run in the competition, goes all the way to the final or just amazes us fans, this would be a great advertising for the league and the nation. The Conference League is a stage where many smaller teams and thus also their leagues and their nations are finally getting the chance to prove themselves and thus get more recognition outside of their country. And finally, a point that I find really interesting personally is that the Europa League basically loses 16 teams to the Conference League, and as it will only have 32 teams from now on, this will definitely increase the average standard of the competition. And I feel like the introduction of the Conference League will also make the Europa League more competitive and it will be higher rated by fans. So this was my verdict on the UEFA Conference League that will start next season. I have to say that I feel very positive about it, I am excited and I am hyped for it to start. So now that you know what the UEFA Conference League will be about, what will change in the new system, who will play in the competition and what we can expect from the tournament, I want to hear your opinion. What do you think, guys? Is the Conference League an opportunity for smaller leagues and nations and for football itself, or is it just another pointless competition that we don't really need? Let me know. I am excited to read your comments and to have an insightful debate. Other than that, thanks for watching. Fiago is out. Peace.